10, back from Jacksonville. The live remote broadcast get ripped there in Jayville. So we had a great time. At least the tailgate was good. Let's put it that way. And after that, not so much, right?
Not so much.
For Gator Dave, but he was spot on with his pick. So
Gator Dave had a good time.
Yeah, Gator Dave had a good time. Be careful there, Mike. Mama's downstairs. So yeah. So yeah. So and Mama was there. So it's just that Band-Aid thing. So
right.
But Gator Dave did have a good time, at least until the game got started. But last week Gator Dave did pretty well. I think I was 6-5, not too bad. Anytime you're over 500 on your picks, that's not too bad with college football. Wouldn't swear by it for NFL, but college wasn't too bad. And a couple of games, I think I might have lost out to Miami Mike. The Kentucky game comes into play where I was so sure Kentucky was going to take care of
I need more cowbell. Cowbell, baby. Fear the cowbell.
The cowbell just dominated. So just dominated Kentucky. And, of course, that's gonna sway my picks my picks this week, I think, for sure, for Kentucky. So but an interesting week nonetheless, and we can talk about it as we go. I wanted to spend a little time on the College Football Playoff Committee came out with their top 25, and I wanted to spend a little time talking about maybe the top 10, excuse me, and kind of talk a little bit about who's in the top 10 and who they have coming up. Who's going to be the tough games that they have to deal with as they go along. Because remember, Gator Dave said Cincinnati would not be in the top 4, and they were a little further back than I picked. I thought they were going to be 5. They ended up at 6. But
yeah. So
if we start at the top with Georgia, number 1 in the land. Their tough games, let's see. SEC championship game. That's when their next tough game is, right? And so they've got four cakewalks into the SEC championship, and more than likely at this point, I'm thinking it's going to be Bama. Everybody else does at this time, so that's their next big game. And hell, even if they lose to Bama, if Bama's still at number 2, Georgia's probably not going to drop out. I still think they got a chance of being in the playoff no matter what at this point.
Yep.
What do you think?
Oh, 100%. I mean, if Georgia wins out, which, like you're saying, they got basically a red carpet to the SEC championship game into the playoff at this point. I mean, unless they drop to some, like Georgia Tech at the end of the year, we've seen crazier things happen, but I just, there's something about this Georgia team that is different. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the year. Their defense is elite. It's one of the best, that's ever played college football at this point. I think it's their year. I said it earlier. I think it is Georgia's year. The curse is over. The Georgia curse is over. The Braves have won the World Series. It's it's opening the door for these other Georgia State athletics to finally break through. I think this may be the year of the peach down here in Georgia. Unfortunately for some of us.
Could be. See, Alabama's number 2, which surprised a lot of people. But everybody loves them Bama boys. So they came in at number 2, a one-loss Alabama at that. Auburn right now is probably the toughest game on the schedule, so everybody be looking forward to that. And then, of course, they're going to have Georgia in the SEC championship. So, that, they could go down. They could go down this year. I would say they've got a couple of tough games, and they could fall out a lot depending on what else happens out there. But what you think there?
On which one? I'm sorry, I was looking at lines.
On Alabama.
No, Alabama. Yeah, absolutely. Alabama should definitely be number 2. I mean, they're the number 2 team. The issue that I have with it though is, the voters are basically setting up the fact, and the committee is setting up the fact that Georgia and Alabama are getting into the playoffs. It's kind of like a known thing that, yes, these 2 teams are the best. Let's line them up so that whatever happens, we can get those 2 teams in regardless of what happens in that SEC championship. It's annoying because, you only have 4 teams a year. I get it. They're the best teams. But it gets to the point, and maybe it's just Bama. We're just so sick of seeing Bama always sneaking in, whether it's at 1 or 4, with 2 losses like they have in the past. I don't know.
I think if Georgia beats them, and depending on what other teams do, Bama could drop out if Georgia beats them. But
there's a potential.
Depending on what the other teams do, which is number 3.
Right.
Michigan State undefeated at number 3. They still have to play Ohio State and Penn State.
Yeah.
Is the two games they've got left. Penn State is much easier, but Ohio State's going to be a tough game.
Right.
No ifs, ands, or buts. And then obviously if they were to win out, they would roll into the
Big
Ten Championship.
Let me ask you this, Dave. Would you rather have the 1-loss Alabama or a 1-loss Oklahoma if you're the committee? What does
1-loss Alabama easy, just
all day, right?
By the schedule, at this point.
Yeah,
no question about it. But remember, they got to beat Georgia to be 1 loss getting into the Final Four, right?
That game is going to be key, right? Because
it's going to be huge.
What if Georgia goes into that game and beats Alabama 38-6? I mean, Alabama, they may not be in that 4. If they're still in that 4, then I think there's going to be some uproar for some people to finally expand that playoff. But
there's no way. If they get hammered by Georgia, they're long gone. But like I said, we'll see what happens around them. Oregon comes in at number 4. They've lost 1 game. They got to play 5-3 Utah, 5-3 Oregon State is who they have left. So, and then if they win out that, then they'll go into the big Pac-12 championship, and it'll be the Utah or Arizona State who they have to play. And man, it sounds like a cakewalk to me for them. But what always seems to happen is, the Pac-10 always seems to stumble, and fall on their face and fall out. But, I mean, if Oregon State wins out, they're in. So.
That's the key, though, right? If they win out. I don't think they win out. I don't think they win out. I am not. So I was very high on Oregon at the beginning of this year up until right after that Ohio State game. Right after they won that Ohio State game, I went, okay, I think they're about to drop off because that was just too much of a high. You did that without your 2 best defensive players as well, going into Columbus and getting that upset. It was bound to happen. I mean, you're at the peak then, so it's bound. You got to come back down. I'm not impressed with Oregon and what's going on out there right now. It doesn't look like that disciplined team that they were in those first, 3-4 weeks of the season. Right now, they're kind of they've also had a lot of injury issues too. I mean, they lost their running back for the year. They've been without Thibodeau and Justin Flo for majority of the year. So they've fought through. They got
an easy schedule. They got an easy schedule going in.
But do you think that goes against them? So do you put a 1-loss Alabama or a 1-loss Oregon? Do you put a 2-loss Alabama and a 1-loss Oregon?
Where they are right now. Always remember where the teams are now.
All right. Do you put Alabama loses the SEC championship? Oregon wins out. Oregon wins out. I'm talking Alabama loses 31-28.
It doesn't matter. Alabama's going to have 2 and Oregon's in.
See, I think Alabama would still get in. I think they would screw Oregon. So. I think Oregon would get the rear end of that, just like they did back in like 2000, 2001 when they should have got in, and Nebraska got in against us.
Yeah, I looked at this and I said, cakewalk, but like I said, they always stumble. So, and they always stumble.
Yeah, always.
So they probably will. I mean, and I put the 2 teams that were the best that they got to play. Hell, they'll probably lose to Washington State or something. So,
right.
So number 5 is Ohio State, which I believe they had to put them behind Oregon because Oregon beat them. That's the way the committee always rolls, head to head. So Ohio State, they definitely going to prove themselves. They got Michigan State and Michigan left, and then if they win those 2, it's a Big Ten championship against probably some inferior team. So,
that's Big Ten football you're talking about there, Dave.
I know, but that Big Ten whatever West is not all that. So
no, it's not.
I'll be honest with you. If they can get Michigan State and Michigan, they deserve to be there. So we'll see how that one rolls. Then, as projected, Cincinnati out of the top 4, which I knew they would be. They still had to play SMU, and they're probably going to end up playing Houston in the AAC final is what it looks like for them. So 2 ranked teams right now, that granted I think they're like 20 and 25, but they'll have some semblance of competition, but you can see that they've kept them on the outside looking in, and I think no matter what happens with Cincinnati, they're gonna stay out there. I don't think unless there is mass chaos that they're gonna get in the top 4. That's my opinion, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I actually see it pretty. I think they could. I think they could. I'll go.
I don't think the committee's gonna do it. They maybe deserve it, but
if it was like back in the day with BCS and you got the computer going into it, then then there's something. But you might be right. But I mean, if you got Ohio State, say Ohio State beats Michigan State, right? Then they go and lose to Michigan in that final game. Cincy wins out, Oregon slips up. Then it's a battle between really Cincy and Oklahoma to get that final 4th spot.
But you just also said Michigan wins, so you just don't know.
Well, Michigan isn't winning out. Michigan isn't winning out. They're gonna stumble again before
Ohio State. So.
Well, they might. That's a rivalry game, but they're not winning out.
So what I'm saying here, the politics of this thing is gonna keep Cincinnati out of this playoff almost no matter what, unless it's really bad. Politics, not the way they play and as good as that team is. So,
all right.
And Michigan number 7, they still got to play Penn State, Ohio State. So, we'll see how they do there. It's going to be a tough 2 games out of their last 4 games. So that's where they land. Oklahoma, everybody's favorite, right? I believe they're undefeated, right? And sitting at.
I think they got the 1 loss, right?
Dude, Texas.
No, yeah, they're undefeated.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they're undefeated. I thought they slipped. They've just been so sketchy and had those late games that you feel like they were. Yeah, they're undefeated. So undefeated sitting at 8.
Undefeated sitting at 8, so they got no confidence in them and their wins because they've been kind of up and down. And they still have to play Baylor, Iowa State, and Okie State.
Yeah.
Before the Big 12 game. So, they've got a tough road to hoe. They could redeem themselves if they win totally out. But I think it's going to be tough for them to do that. But we'll see.
Yep.
Another undefeated team at number 9, your ACC, Wake Forest is sitting at number 9 and undefeated. They still have to play the 2 Carolina teams in UNC, NC State. They still have to play Clemson, who I think is getting a little better. And then in the ACC
that's a bold statement, Dave. Bold statement.
What, Clemson's getting better?
Yeah.
That'll give me my pick that I'm gonna pick later. But and then they're gonna have the ACC championship, which is Pitt. So we know.
Whoa! Hold on. Which is Pitt? Why? How? You
really think Miami's gonna stay?
You're just gonna throw Pitt? You're just gonna give them the division like that, Dave?
I'm gonna give it to them.
Did you not see? I mean, we didn't. We were doing the tailgate, but you saw the score. You were giving me updates. What happened on Saturday? Who came out on top in Pittsburgh?
That was another one.
The U, baby. Yeah. The U did it. The U did it.
Yeah.
We're in the stage right now where we're starting to believe again, folks. We're getting off track here, but we're starting to believe in Miami.
Talk to us, Miami Mike.
We're starting to believe. This is where they let us down. So, having said that, Miami's a 10-point favorite against Georgia Tech this week. Stay away. Stay away.
Exactly.
Go Canes, but stay away.
There's the confidence from my Hurricane guy, so good stuff.
History may repeat itself.
Our favorite Notre Dame rounds out the top 10. They play nobody. Their toughest game next is Georgia Tech. There's no playoff. They've got them so far away they don't stand a chance. So that's kind of where the top 10 is. We'll see as it goes. We'll kind of touch on it, I guess, every week as we go along. But definitely interesting layout to start.
Real quick, Dave. If Notre Dame gets into the playoff, I'm with you. There's nothing we can do at this. Why even play?
Exactly.
Just give it to them.
To 4, yeah. Joke. But you see they got them far enough away. It's like, keep your distance there, Notre Dame.
They should be.
No conference, Notre Dame. So,
yeah.
We'll see. All right, let's hit some games. Mike, let's see. The first game I've got on the slate, we got to start with number 1 in the nation, right? We got to start with my wife and son's Georgia Bulldogs. They got Missouri coming in this week, and that powerhouse in Missouri, right? The line is a mere 38 points. So this one's got me, I'm like 38. Okay, can they do it? So here's what we got: Missouri at 4-4. And by the way, they're 0-8 against the spread. 0-8. So this one's a tough one.
Missouri's pretty bad.
Yeah, they lost to Texas A&M 35-14 last week. At home, they lost to Tennessee 62-24 at home.
Oof.
So, and those are at home where you're supposed to, have a little advantage. They do have a running back. Tyler Beatty is number 3 in FBS. 989 total yards so far this year. Pretty impressive kid. We thought it was going to be quarterback Basilak that was going to light it up, but it seems to be this kid on the ground. They do have the number 6. They're number 6 in total offense in the SEC. So they're middle of the pack in SEC in offense.
Right.
Georgia comes in 8-0, 6-2 against the spread. Undefeated, number 1 in the land. Last week, whipped my Florida Gators. Like I told you would happen.
Hold on. That game looked good up until there was a point in the second quarter. It was like a stretch of 2.5 minutes that Georgia scored like 24 points. That shit was unreal. It didn't make sense. Y'all were competing. That missed field, I think what it was, they went down, missed that first field goal, y'all got it, drove it right down the field on him, had to settle for a field goal, he missed it, and then it was kind of downhill from that point. But they competed for a little bit. They needed to put number 5 in. They got to have more faith in my boy Emory Jones. AR-15, yes, he's going to be good. Got to wait his turn, man.
Well, he's going to wait his turn now because he's got a concussion, so he is not going to be playing this weekend.
That sucks.
So it will be Emory Jones this weekend. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, getting back to Georgia. So here's the deal. So if the Vols, the Vols beat Missouri by 38. So can the Dogs beat Missouri by 40 is a big question. The Dogs have only beaten 2 teams by more than 40 this year, and that was UAB and Vandy, 49-62. I think that Georgia's going to hammer them, but I think they're going to get to that point where they let up a little bit and don't really care to compromise their starters, which they've done in these other games. But I think it's going to be sooner rather than later now, because we're getting later in the year, and I think they're going to save their guys. I think Georgia will win by 35, but I don't think they're going to win by 38. So I'm going to say here, if I'm going points, I would go Missouri here. That it's only going to be about 35, which 35, hell, that's a whooping there anyway. But I'm going to say go with the Tigers and the points. What do you think?
I am against you on this, Dave. This will be a showdown for us, brother.
All right, marking it up, showdown.
I like the Bulldogs here. Yes, I am with you. I think they run it up pretty quickly. I think, halftime it's probably 35-0. And they do probably take out the starters and put the number 2s and 3s in. The downside for Missouri, those 2s and 3s are still 4 and 5-star kids. They're still dogs. So I don't see Kirby pulling up either. He's not trying to give up that number 1 ranking. He knows how big it is going into that SEC championship game, because that 2 or that 1 really matters in that one right there, and for getting into the playoffs. I like Georgia to
win by 40.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be like a 52-3 kind of game. I think they give it to them, and Missouri will be lucky to get 3. Missouri can't stop a nosebleed, and their offense against that defense, good luck.
45-10.
Good
That's where I'm going.
luck. All right.
I'm gonna say they're gonna score 10 just at the end of the game.
Yeah, they're gonna score 10.
By the end of the game, not in the beginning. It'll be 0 at halftime.
We may need to make a side something on that, because I don't think they're gonna be hard. They're gonna be hard pressed to get anything. That Georgia defense is wild. They are gonna get after them. They're gonna tee off. Those young kids are gonna finally get some playing time. They're gonna eat. They're gonna eat, Dave.
All right, we'll see. Next up, alma mater, the Memphis Tigers. They got SMU coming in 4.5-point favorites at Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium, which I think they've finally got a sponsor of the stadium now. My Memphis peeps are gonna have to, tell me what it is. But so 4.5 coming into Memphis. SMU is 7-1. They're 4-3-1 against the spread. Their biggest win is over TCU by 7. Now, they did lose to Houston last week. It was close, 44-37. They gave up 489 yards to Houston. That's a firepower of an offense, but they gave it up. They do have the 7th-ranked offense in FBS. SMU does. Their quarterback, Tanner Mordecai, averaging 328 yards a game and 4 touchdowns. So pretty exciting offense here. This might be one of those games where you might want to look at the over, although Memphis' offense has been sputtering a little bit. We'll talk about that in a minute. So Memphis is 4-4, 3-5 against the spread. Their offense has dropped down to 20 because their starting quarterback was out injured, and we had that knucklehead from transfer from LSU was in there that can't read anything. looked pretty rough. The starter came back, but they're thinking he's kind of up and down whether he's going to play on Saturday, which is going to be a nightmare for the Tigers because they've got to score a crap ton of points to keep up with SMU. Memphis has lost 3 of their last 4 games. I really hate to say this about my alma mater, but I think this one's easy money and take SMU here. I think this is a lot game here.
Wow.
SMU wins, easily covers 4.5 points.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm glad you said that because this is one that I was looking at earlier in the week and I was sort of on the fence about. I was looking at Memphis' side, but after what you just said, and you being a Memphis Tiger alma mater, I always gotta take note when you go against them. So I like that though. I think you're right with SMU.
Yeah. I mean, if that quarterback doesn't play the whole damn game, they're toast. They're
right.
really toast. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. All right, next game, very, 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 very interesting game. All right, everybody knows about our boy Hugh Freeze that had some issues down there in Oxford. Well, he got the boot. He's got the nasty record and people saying bad things about him. He left Ole Miss. Now he's at Liberty.
Just
and we got Liberty coming in to Oxford on Saturday against our Rebels. And Rebs are favored by 9.5 points. It's a lot of points. So Liberty is 7-2, 6-3 against the spread. Liberty lost to Syracuse. They lost to Louisiana Monroe. They've done pretty good on defense. So, last year I think they were a little bit more about the offense. This year on defense, held most teams under 25. But this is Ole Miss, and we know they can throw some numbers up. They didn't last week, but we know they're very capable of throwing a lot of numbers up. The quarterback's decent, not really what Freeze is used to. Ole Miss coming at 6-2, 5-3 against the spread. Still one of the top defenses in the land. I think they're like 3 or 4. The Rebs lost to Auburn last week. I missed that one. And they only scored 20 points. So, I never got to see that game. I didn't get a chance to really look closely at it, but, that's pretty rough to see Ole Miss only score 20. We know Ole Miss has beaten LSU. They've beaten Tennessee. They've beaten Arkansas. So a lot better wins than what Liberty has done. So the question is, can Liberty keep up with the offense of Ole Miss? Because we know Ole Miss doesn't have that much of a defense, but can they keep up? And my thoughts are that they are not going to be able to keep up with Ole Miss's offense. They don't have the offense they had last year. Liberty doesn't the year before. So I think Ole Miss is going to win by 10. It's going to be close to that 9.5. I think 10 is probably about where this thing's going to go. So I think you're safe, with those points and where they are at 9.5 right now. But I'm betting Ole Miss here.
I'm on the other side, Dave.
All right.
For the reason that I think this Liberty team looks at this game, right, and this is like their championship. This is one of the biggest games of their year. Hugh Freeze, huge game for their coach. They love their coach. They're going to put on for their coach. They know how big of a game this is for him. I think they probably don't win, but I think they give Lane Kiffin a run for his money for sure. Last week was shocking, to say the least.
Yeah.
The way the Ole Miss offense played. I don't know if Matt Corral, if he's still dealing with that injury, and he decided to go, and that's sort of what, maybe gave him a little bit of a bug or whatever. We, unfortunately, like you said, we didn't have a chance to watch that game too much because we were, down and doing the Jacksonville thing. But that definitely is something to watch for sure. I just think Liberty is going to come fired up. I think Ole Miss is probably going to come into it a little lazy, thinking, this is Liberty. We're not going to have to try that hard. We got another conference game next week. Let's just worry about, getting this win and getting out of there. And I think Liberty's going to come in, wanting to make a statement for sure. A lot of those guys, remember, Dave, too, were projected as pretty high round draft picks going into this year for Liberty for Hugh Freeze. You had a couple third and fourth rounders.
They got a couple of good guys.
Yeah.
They got a couple of good guys. But I mean, you look at it. I mean, it's like comparing 1.5 stars to 3.5 stars. So I'm still feel pretty solid on my Ole Miss, but we'll put that one down as a showdown game.
That's fair, but stars don't matter that much. Stars.
That's right.
If you actually look at, here's a fun thing for somebody to check for us if you like. Pro Bowlers in the NFL, to see what star ranking they were in college and high school going into college is super, super interesting. Not a lot, or Hall of Famers as well. Not a lot of 5 stars, but a whole lot of 3 stars, a whole lot of 4 stars. So it's just interesting.
Remember, Pro Bowler, that's only a sample. That's a sample. If you look
that's
at
the best of the best, baby.
Look at this.
That's the best of the best.
Sample of the NFL. More 4 stars and 3 stars.
Well,
so,
that's just because they've been, whatever.
All right, let's go to your ACC. We got Wake Forest, the undefeated Wake Forest, Demon Deacons at North Carolina. North Carolina, and by the way, Wake Forest is ranked and North Carolina is not, and North Carolina is getting 2.5 points. So my bud Chad Derrick at Catstone says he said he doesn't have a lot of faith in the Tar Heels this week, so he thinks it's on that downward roller coaster. But I thought I'd throw that out there. So Wake Forest 8-0, 4-4 against the spread. The Deacs defense not good. They're allowing over 400 points a game. 400 yards a game. Their offense has scored at least 35 per game, so they're definitely on that offensive-minded side of things. They got a good quarterback.
Right.
We talked about him before, Sam Hartman, doing quite well. They put up 638 yards and 677 yards the last 2 games. Damn. That's a lot of yards. North Carolina, the roller coaster it is 4-4, 3-5 against the spread. They are averaging 40 points a game in the last few games. So that kind of tells you maybe this thing's lots of points. Look at the over on this one. Maybe it could be 80 points. Great quarterback Sam Howell here. We're kind of talking probably 2 of the best in the ACC. You count the kid from Pittsburgh in there too, but these are 2 of the best for sure. But I'm going to say here that this is an easy one. Go with Wake, and you can get your 2.5 points if you wish, which would be all great. I'd take it up to 3 just to go there, but I think this one's no defense, but Wake's going to win. Flat. Going to win this thing.
Interesting.
You going the other way?
I'm thinking about it. Something about Wake. I've taken them a couple times this year. We've been on their side. Sam Hartman is for real. That kid is good. All right, that offense is good for Wake Forest. Their defense has been. It went from like a super elite at sort of the beginning of the year. Then they kind of gave up almost 60 points to Army, which, granted, it's a triple option team. They gave up 37 to Syracuse, 34 to Louisville. Those are close games. They are undefeated. They could easily have 2 or 3 losses right now. This is a rivalry game. With Wake Forest and North Carolina. North Carolina's season is pretty much shot. They don't really have too much to play for. They're 4-4. They're kind of done when it comes to the ACC championship as well. Right now, they're just trying to get to a bowl game. If you look at their last couple games, they got Wake, they got Pitt, Wofford, and NC State. They'll get one in Wofford, but they need one with Wake, Pitt, or NC State. That's a tough 3 games to get a win with. I hope they do it against Pitt, so that Pitt kind of fumbles a little bit and we slide up in there.
Gives you a shot, right?
That's right. But I do think that this might be the week for the Tar Heels. If not, look for Mack Brown to be the new talk of college football as potential hot seat firings. I think the boosters will get a little upset if they don't beat little brother Wake Forest from down the road. Even though it's a top 10 team, that's still little brother. You still got to give it to little brother when you play him. So
we shall see. So you're going North Carolina here, Mike, or are you gonna just lay off this one?
I would think I'm gonna go on the over. The game last year it was 59-53. Wake Forest offense only got better. North Carolina's offense took a hit. I mean, they had a bunch of draft picks off that offense. Downs is legit though. Downs for North Carolina, that wide receiver, I'm telling you, he is going to be a stud in the NFL on Sundays. So I would lean probably at the over here. So I'm going to stay. We don't have a showdown on this one, Dave, unfortunately.
Okay. That's all right. No problemo. We'll go with the over. I was trying to see
no problemo.
what the over under was on that game.
It's 77 right now.
77.
Yeah. It's high. It's definitely high.
That's a lot of points.
Yep.
That is.
I think Sam Howell puts on a show, though. I think Sam Howell puts on a show.
Yeah, this is gonna be. It's definitely gonna be an interesting game. All right.
I think this is a game that both quarterbacks could end up with 5-6 touchdowns in. It's gonna be that kind of game.
Absolutely. All right, let's see. Next on the slate, let's go to the SEC again, and look at Auburn versus Texas A&M. We're at Texas A&M. Texas A&M getting 4.5 points. So, this is going to be a good game here, in my opinion. Yep. I think Auburn's 6-2 against the spread. They've beaten Arkansas. They've beaten Ole Miss in the last few weeks. Took care of Ole Miss. Took care of Ole Miss last week. No. Yes. So, one thing here that I kind of want to talk about is, have you noticed, and we touched on it when we were in Jacksonville, and that is, it looks like the SEC West is going back to what it used to be. You know, Alabama at the top, Auburn, you got Texas A&M. I mean, those three. You know, at the beginning of the year, we thought all this other craziness. Oh, Ole Miss has got a chance. Arkansas has got a chance. You know, but it's taken its normal turn, and I think it's going to come down to that. You know, to that Auburn and Alabama game being pretty awesome, which is a tribute to the new coach at Auburn. You know, the guy from Boise State came in there. That's pretty impressive.
Yep.
The Auburn 26 offense and FBS 50th ranked defense, so both top 50 in both sides of the ball. A&M is 6-2, same record, 5-3 against the spread. Their big win, of course, was against Alabama. The rest of their wins, not they hadn't played the better teams yet. I mean, they've got to play all the tough, you know, teams in the West now. So could be interesting. Now, Spiller and Ankeny, the Texas A&M running backs, have finally started getting back into it. You know, beginning of the year they were sucking. Now they're playing much better.
Right.
280 yards in back-to-back games from those guys because the quarterback's not good. because it's the backup, and he's just not good. So they've had to, go to running the ball. Their offense is not ranked. Their defense is 27th in the country. I'm just not believing in the Aggies here, and I say go get your points, go get your 4.5 points, and go with Auburn.
Mr. Anti-Bo Nix is going with Auburn at Texas A&M, huh? You don't think so?
Got a couple of War Eagle fans at work. Miss Ann Campbell, she's the big War Eagle fan. Hopefully she'll be watching. But I'm gonna go with the Auburn Tigers this week.
So you think he's over his jitters now, huh?
No, I just think he'll be adequate enough to get him through this game. I just don't think Texas. I think Auburn's defense is enough to hold these guys back, and their offense is adequate enough to make it happen. And because all they got to do is win, because hell, or they can lose by 3 and I still win here. So
right.
I just think this is a good chance this one can roll. Although hell, it's a big SEC game, so we know it could go either way. But that's the way I'm going this week. What you think?
I could see it.
Away?
I could see it. I'm staying away. I think College Station, I am not sold that Bo Nix has gotten over his on-the-road jitters. And College Station is a tough place to play.
Absolutely.
I kind of like Texas A&M in this. The key is going to be if they can run the ball in that Auburn defense. If they can't run the ball and they put the hand in that backup, like you're saying, it might be a long day for those Aggie fans in the 12th man. But this is one that I think I'm going to stay away from.
I'm not going to call this one a total lock. I'm going to say it's a decent bet, but trying to figure my parlay this week. I'm not going to call it a lock yet. All right. The next game is a lock game. Michigan State at Purdue. Everybody's scared of Purdue. Michigan State getting 3 here. Michigan State is 8-0, 6-2 against the spread. Big win, of course, last week against Michigan, which killed me. Now they control their own destiny, right? They can write their own ticket. They got wins over Nebraska and the Canes.
Thanks, Dave.
They 29th ranked offense. Running back Kenneth Walker III is 9th best back in the nation.
Top 5. He should be. Should be a Heisman finalist.
When I looked at yards per carry, he was 9th.
He should be a Heisman finalist. That dude is a dog.
He's a stud.
Yep.
Purdue, the spoiler, they are 5-3, 4-4 against the spread. Their big win, obviously, over Iowa. Screwed us all in that one. They're averaging 300 yards per game passing. Their defense is only allowing 17 points a game, so it's got to be right. Boilermakers, no. Dave's calling this one a lock. Go with Sparty.
A lock.
Sparty's gonna win by at least 7 in this game.
A lock from Gator Dave. A lock. Locking it in. I'm thinking I'm staying away from it because you don't know what Purdue team you're going to get. That's my issue is are you going to get that Purdue team that went into Iowa and laid it to them? Or are you going to get that Purdue team that just got their asses kicked by Wisconsin? Yeah, I don't know. So I would tend to lean with you with your lock, Michigan State. Walker is a monster. I mean, he is an absolute beast. And if Purdue can't stop him, it's a long day. Michigan State will be moving on undefeated, top 3 as they should.
Yep.
I think I'm with you here, Dave. I think I'm with you, but I am nervous on it. If I had to go aside, I'd probably go Michigan State, but I don't know. I don't know on this one. I don't know. Tough one to call.
Hey, this next game, though, Mike, it's in your wheelhouse again, back to the ACC, man. We got North Carolina State against Tallahassee State. Excuse me, Florida State. North Carolina State getting 3.5 points here. They're playing at Florida State. Let's take a look. North Carolina State is roller coaster 6-2, 5-3 against the spread. North Carolina State has won 3 of their last 4 games. The one loss in those 3 or 4 games.
Say it, Dave. Say it, Dave.
The Canes, baby. So, yeah.
Woo!
Yes. Last week, they beat Louisville by 15. They have the 26th ranked defense in the land. Now, FSU, who disappointed me greatly last weekend, the one time I thought they were going to cover, they didn't.
Of course they didn't.
Why would
they?
Chops.
Why would they?
No chops. No chops. FSU 3-5. 3-5 against the spread. Last week.
Did you see how they didn't cover that spread? By the way.
Yeah, I did. I mean, a buddy of mine that we talked to.
Yeah.
From Oklahoma. That,
yep.
Was getting.
Yep.
Ideas from us. Bet on that game, and he goes, "I can't believe the play that caused me to lose."
It was BS. It was terrible.
Toss a dime.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Rough one.
Bad bet. Bad beat.
So last week, FSU allowed lowly Clemson to beat them by 10. 240 yards of offense, and Clemson scored 20 points.
Yep.
Seminoles averaged, they're averaging 29.9 per game, 13.6 more than the Wolfpack gives up, because they're giving up 16. The Noles have won 3 of the last 4. So they're in the same boat there as NC State. The Noles did lose to the Cardinals, and NC State just beat the Cardinals. So that's my right? Both teams are definitely a bit of a roller coaster, but there's no way in hell I can take the Seminoles 2 weeks in a row. So I'm going NC State to cover those 3. I would take this down to 3 points to cover your butt. And would you suggest, if you were going, or do you take it to 2.5, Mike, if you were thinking NC State here?
Yeah, I'd probably just take them down to the money line and not even mess with that 2.5. Especially with that rule change in college now with overtimes, where after the third it's forced 2-point conversion each time.
Yeah.
It could get a little sketchy there, depending on where you get that line and how it moves. So, I would probably just take it down to the money line on that. I think I'd have to go with you. NC State's got a good team. They're no slouch. Their quarterback's pretty decent, Leary. Florida State also, there's a little bit of controversy in Tallahassee. Chuba Purdy just went into the transfer portal. So there's a little bit of disgruntlement there, but that could also be a positive for him. He could have been a toxicity to that QB room and to the offense, to the whole team. You never know. So now that he's gone, maybe things will start. That black cloud is gone. Who knows? I don't think it's going to happen for them, unfortunately. I like NC State here. I'm with you. I may even hop on that one with you. Go Wolfpack. Go Wolfpack.
All right, let's see. I'm putting that one down. Put there together. Let's see. Next up, UT Vols at Kentucky. and the points are -5. So this is like a freaking pick 'em, right? The Vols are 4-4, 3-5 against the spread. Last game, they played a nice first half against the Tide, but then got just woodshedded the second half.
Yep.
Hooker was 19 of 28 for 282 yards against the Tide. The Vols are 2-2 in the last 2 games. 5th best offense in the SEC, while Kentucky is ranked 12th offense in the SEC. Kentucky is 6-2 against the spread. The Cats are 2-2 in their last 4 games. And to be honest with you, they shouldn't have beat the Gators. They got lucky as hell in that game. We played stupid. It should be their 1-3 in the last 4 games. All right.
I agree.
Only 215 yards of offense against Mississippi State last week. Ouch. They've given up 400 yards in the last 2 games. So rather interesting for sure. So I'm going to say,
what you got?
As much as I hate, I'm going Rocky Top here, baby. I'm going with Tennessee.
Wow.
I'll take that to my brother Pete and Mr. Dave Sharon, who's going to probably be watching sometime in the next day or so from work. I'm going Rocky Top all the way here, baby.
So you know that line has changed so much, Dave, that it's gone from Kentucky -5 to Tennessee -1. So Tennessee is now the favorite. So there's been a lot of money that has gone on that.
Tennessee is the favorite now at 1?
Tennessee is the favorite now.
I just looked at that yesterday.
A lot of money has came in on the Vols to push them to that -1. So definitely look at that as something to watch. You always got to look at those lines for people out there. That's something that you can use as a tool for sure. So that tells you there's been a lot of money on Tennessee. Somebody knows something. Take it into consideration. I personally love this Tennessee team. We've talked about them numerous times all year. Hendon Hooker, the quarterback transfer from Vatech. I mean, he's a dog. He's a guy that does not give up. He puts the team on his back when he needs to. This is a game that is very scary for Kentucky, I think, and Mark Stoops. They were riding high after they beat y'all, and now they've that was their peak, right, on the roller coaster like we were talking earlier, and now they've come down. They've done nothing but come down. So is this a game that is just part of that come down, or are they hitting a little bump and having, a little coasting action? I don't know. I think Tennessee is the side.
I think the offense has gotten lucky lately. That offense is not that good,
no.
Dude. And I just think if Hooker has a good game, this one's easy. And you're right. This from yesterday. Yesterday it was -0.5 point to Kentucky, and now depending on what you're looking at, it's -1 for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Is where this thing goes.
Oh, I mean, it opened at the beginning of the week -5 Kentucky. The line has shifted that much.
So I mean, Tennessee's gonna win at least by 3. I'll go get Tennessee in the points easy here. I think they can win by 3. So go there.
All right.
Rocky Top all the way.
Rocky Top.
Pete and Dave. All right. Let's see. Florida Gators next up at South Carolina. This was a tough one for me. Really tough. 18.5 points. Oh, shoot. Can we score that much? Florida's 4-4, 3-4 against the spread. Number three offense in SEC. Had some weird losses. LSU, Kentucky are weird. The other ones aren't. Things not looking good in Gainesville, right? AR-15 out with a concussion, so we're Emory Jones all the way. We're going to run the hell out of the ball because South Carolina has no run-stopping ability at Oh, they're like the worst. So it's going to be Emory Jones in his, not worried about AR.
Right.
Dumping off passes and running like crazy. Our backs are going to run like hell. South Carolina 4-4, 4-4 against the spread. They beat Vandy at home by 1. We beat Vandy by 35. Enough said there. They are ranked 14th ranked offense in the SEC. Ooh, that'd be nice. They're definitely rebuilding this year. South Carolina is not good. It's tough, 18.5 points after the way we've been playing, but I got to go here. I'm going to say we're going to win by 20, probably, something like that. So I'm going to say go with the Gators.
All right. Gators. Yeah, I like the fact that Emory Jones is going to be y'all's full-time quarterback in this game. I think that'll, like you said, give him some confidence, give him a little bit of breathing room where he can kind of sit back and do his thing. The question I have is, what's going on in Gainesville? Because after that Georgia-Florida game, I don't know if you saw that post, but there were 4 guys doing the alma mater. What's the story with that?
Yeah. So that's it's kind of
funny. Is that just guys trying to stir shit up, or?
Yeah, stir shit up. So the way it works at Florida is that when they win a game, they all go down and sing the alma mater.
Mm-hmm.
When you lose the game, normally no one goes down there. So it just so happens 4 guys went down there and sang the alma mater and are lost. We don't usually the players don't usually go in the end zone in a loss.
Oh, so you guys are just sore losers.
So there's your answer. Yeah, we are sore losers. We don't like to lose. Well, true that. We don't like to lose in Gainesville.
Understandable.
Florida fans don't like to lose.
That's why they're so miserable.
That's why Mullen better watch his stuff. I'll tell you that. He's about that far. Not happy with Dan.
Not happy with Dan.
No, he's got
Dan the man.
Did you hear what he said about how, we don't worry about recruiting during the year? What? We worry about playing football, games to play. And then he comes back a few days like, it was taken out of context. We all know that Dan's having issues recruiting. Been that way.
Really?
So, yeah. He's not doing well. I mean, and if you look at our record against Power 5 schools, the last 10 games, it's below 500.
Oh, it's way bad. It's bad. Like I think you're like 2-8.
Something to that effect.
It's awful. Yeah.
We're not happy. Lots of changes coming in Gainesville for sure.
Interesting.
Don't know if it's Big Dan or not. Don't know, but
I think it's definitely got to start with the DC Grantham for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Done. Let's hit this last game because
good recruiter though.
Mike, so
I think that's ultimately why he's torn on getting rid of him, Dave, is because Grantham is a good recruiter.
Grantham's a good recruiter.
Yeah, on the defensive side.
Not really. Not really. I don't think Grantham has much to do with their recruiting. I really don't. Not from the insiders and what they say. He's not involved in recruiting that much. His coaches do all the recruiting.
Right. He has his minions do it. I feel you.
Yep. So he's just not involved in it. So this last game, back to the year ACC, we got Clemson at Louisville. And this is the one you wanted.
Yep.
And this one I'm marking down as a lock for Dave. And we'll see what happens here. So, Clemson coming in at 5-3, 1-7 against the spread. Ouch. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. They beat FSU last week 30-20. 377 yards of offense, 2 lost fumbles, and an interception against FSU. We obviously didn't see that game because probably should have been a lot worse than 20-10. The quarterback UG, he was 19-31, 189 yards. Will Shipley had 128 yards of rushing. So there's some progress on the offensive front at Clemson. They held, and I'm going to pronounce this like Ian tells me to, Jashawn Corbin to 31 yards of rushing last week. That's the stud we were talking about. 24th ranked defense in the land. Louisville coming in at 4-4. 4-4 against the spread. Lost by 15 to NC State last week. 241 yards of offense and lost 2 fumbles. Louisville is, this is out of like 12 or 14 teams, 9th on defense, 9th on offense in the ACC. Cunningham is kind of dropping. Number 10th passer in passing efficiency in the ACC. Not too hot. They have lost their 3 of their last 4 games. I say this is a lock, and Dabo's going to win by a touchdown here. Take Clemson and them easy to cover 4.
Oh, it's showdown happening. It's a showdown right here.
Yes.
It's a showdown happening here,
because I got this a lock.
This is not a lock. What are you talking about? This is a night. This is a night game in Louisville. All right. Louisville. Okay. Flashback, people. Flashback to last week. The cowbell. The cowbell at night. All right. This is the same.
The cowbell has nothing to do with this game.
This is the same sort of scenario right here. Night game in Louisville. They'll be in there all black. I don't know that for a fact, but I assume so because they play better when it happens. I'm telling you right now, Louisville is winning this game. Louisville and Malik Cunningham. This is his legacy game at Louisville. All right. I bet they get it done. I'm thinking like 27. Like 27-24. Louisville pulls it out.
Louisville wins by 3.
Louisville pulls it out, but take them with the points just to be safe. That's a showdown for you, Dave. I'm taking your lock.
Mike.
I'm taking your lock and I'm breaking it, sir.
I'll take it. It's a lock and a showdown for Gator Dave. That's the way we roll here.
All right, you ready? You ready for the sneak game? I'm hitting you
with it. What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Oregon -7 at Washington. Over under is 51.
I'm just gonna say that 7 points at where are they playing?
At Washington.
And I got the wrong computer I'm playing with.
Can Oregon keep it going, stay in the top 4 of the playoff, move on to the next week? Can they do it?
So Washington is 4-4, 2-6 against the spread, and it's 7 points. So if I get 7, it's a push. I'm going Oregon.
Oregon
points.
Yeah.
I think they can win by 10, but I'll take the 7 and a push if I have to.
I think I'm with you. Washington's offense is terrible. Their offense is awful. Their defense is good. Maybe the under would probably be where I would play right here, but I think the under would be my side, under 51. But I think Oregon is also a decent side, especially if you can get it under that 7, maybe like 6.5.
Yeah, it'd be good.
But I could easily see this game being, 3 points, kind of a really low scoring, like 21-17 kind of deal. So look for that as well. Night game, it's going to be cold. Washington Stadium's right off the water, so it'll be a little, well, night game for us. It'll be about 4:30 there, so it'll get dark for the second half. But all right, Dave, we got some stuff in the chat. Got some questions real quick that we'll shoot over.
All right, and I've got, if my wife could bring up the battery to my laptop that is downstairs next to her right now. It'd be great because I'm about to lose my
we need engineer
one of my
help.
computers. Yep. So what do we got in the chat?
So we got James requesting some help on a couple games. Let's see.
So the one I see there, he says Clemson money line half. Well, James, it depends on who you go with here, because Miami Mike seems to think Louisville. So
yeah, I mean, James, if your question is whether you should take Clemson money line or at -1.5, just take a money line, man. Don't even play around with that 1.5. The last thing you want is that game to finish 31-30 and you lose off a half a point. It is the most aggravating thing. So that would be my advice on that. Just take that money line. If that's the side that you like, if you like Clemson, just take a money line. Don't even worry. Don't mess with that -1.5.
Yeah, Clemson's got this one locked up there, James. They're going to win by 7, so you're going to be safe, buddy.
Yeah, just whatever. Wait, next week we'll talk about this game specifically,
James. We'll talk about
James.
this one. Locking a showdown. I got it.
And we'll see what happens. Let's see if he's got any others for us real quick. Baylor -2.5 against TCU. What are your thoughts, Dave?
Baylor -2.5 against TCU. Baylor win that by 3, so I think you're safe there taking Baylor.
Yeah, that's a do not play for me. If
you're gonna bet the game though, that's my bet.
Yeah, that's a do not for me. So I think Gary Patterson. You never know what kind of TCU game you're going to get with him, if his defense is going to come out elite or not. Baylor, I'm not 100% sold on. I think they're going in the right direction. I think Aranda has them in the right direction. I also think he could wind up at LSU, and he might be looking at that job a little closely right now. Could catch him slipping. Local news talking about him going, him leaving. It could get into the guys' heads. So that would be my take, but for that reason, it's a do not play for me on that one. Arizona State -1.5 against USC. What do you think, Dave?
Arizona State -1.5 against USC. And they're playing at USC. Right. Oh, man, I don't know. It's hard for me to trust either one of those teams right now. And to feel
I think we have lost Dave. I think we have officially lost Dave, ladies and gentlemen. So you're just gonna get my picks until we get him back. I'll leave the call open, Dave. If you are hearing this out there in the great wilderness, come back to us. Come back to us, Dave. We need the charger. Producers, engineers, where are we at? Executive producers. Arizona State, USC. I'm torn on. It depends on who USC's quarterback is. If they go with Jackson Dart, I think they got a great shot. I really do. If they go with Slovis, I like Arizona State all day long. I think Daniels is getting it together for Arizona State. I like Herm Edwards. I'm not, hugely opposed to that pick, but for me, it's a do not play, just because there's a lot of volatility with it. It could really go either way, in my opinion, on that Arizona State USC game. So I'm kind of iffy on it. We'll hopefully get back Dave. Let's see. Let me just shoot him a text. And we'll move on to your others if you have any questions. Man, my plays, I'm not on a lot this week. The only one that I was really high on was Louisville. I like Louisville in that game a lot. I do not like Clemson this year. I think that's them getting 4 points at Louisville in that night game is an over exaggeration. I like Louisville. I like Louisville. Other than that, NC State was one that I was kind of talked into by Gator Dave. Another one, let me pull up my shit real quick. Another one that I was watching is the Oklahoma State money line against West Virginia. That's one that I was going back and forth on. Oklahoma State, I was super against them at the beginning of the year. Spencer Sanders was playing awful, but Oklahoma State has the best defense they've had, supposedly, according to Mike Gundy, that they've ever had at Oklahoma State. This is the best defense that he's ever had at Oklahoma State. Granted, it's the Big 12, right? How much defense do they really have? But they're going against West Virginia. West Virginia has kind of played spoiler to me earlier in the year a couple times. I took them, towards the beginning of the year, and they ended up kind of biting me. And then I went against them. They bit me again. So that's something that I'm torn on personally, is that Oklahoma State West Virginia game, but it might be one that I end up getting back to. Gator Dave, can you hear me, sir? Are you back with us?
I am back.
All right. We're back. Back like you never left.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
Technical difficulties.
It happens to the best of us.
Yes.
So we were just, we'll get your opinion real quick on them. We were just trying to talk in that Arizona State USC game. Your thoughts on that, and then I brought up briefly the Oklahoma State West Virginia game.
Yes. So I'm kind of the USC and Arizona State. I couldn't go either way on that one. I'm not feeling good to bet that one. And I just don't have confidence in either one of those teams right now to really kind of give me a push as to which way they go.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I was at with that one too. Any thoughts on Oklahoma State, West Virginia?
What's our line there?
Just straight up, just a straight up pick 'em.
Well, if it's a straight up pick 'em, they're playing at West Virginia, right?
Correct.
I think Oklahoma State's still got enough fuel in the tank right now, and West Virginia's middle of the road. So
right.
I'd go with Oklahoma State in that game.
Yeah, that's where I was leaning. That's what I was saying. Also, Oklahoma State still has something to play for. They're still trying to get into that championship game.
Absolutely.
So until they lose one more, and have that peak and start coming down a little bit, I think they're still climbing. So Oklahoma State might be one that I end up getting on.
I'm getting a pen and paper out on that one. I didn't know that was a pick 'em.
Yeah. I think it was, if I remember right, it's like 1.5, but just take them down. It's one of those, it's one of those just take them down kind of games.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick there. That's one I kind of like.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Fresno State against Boise State, and he was talking about Fresno plus 5.5. Any thoughts there?
Oh man, I don't know. How many games has Fresno lost? Trying to see.
I know they beat UCLA earlier in the year, right? Then they went and lost at Hawaii. I remember that one well. Fresno.
Yes. The thing about, see, I'm getting those teams. There's several teams. You got Fresno State
mm-hmm.
and San Diego State that are out there, and one is doing better than the other one. I'm trying to figure out which one.
San Diego State, I'm pretty sure, is ranked right now. I think the Aztecs.
That's what I thought.
I'm pretty sure they've snuck in there. Fresno was ranked, though, at the beginning of the year. I mean, they've been ranked a couple of times throughout the year. I don't think they've gotten any lower than like 18, but they've been right there.
Yeah, Fresno 5.5. Yeah, Fresno 7-2. Boise's 4-4. Fresno 6-3 against the spread. Fresno beat San Diego State 30-20 last week. They beat Nevada 34-32.
That's a good Nevada team.
17-0 against Wyoming. So, that might be
your side.
Be a take on the Fresno
on Fresno.
On the Fresno State side, because Boise's 4-4, 5-3 against the spread. They lost to Nevada. They did beat BYU. They lost to Air Force, and they beat Colorado State. So, yeah, I think I'd lean. I think I would lean to Fresno on that one. I wonder, Mike, if you got it down to 3, would you still be in the money, or is that too far down, or would you keep it at that?
Well, I think James was playing around with the lines a little bit, so he was getting plus 5.5 with Fresno.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a good number to have.
I think it's a good number. I think he might be safe there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see real quick if there's any others. Wyoming, Colorado State. He was looking at the over/under there. Any thoughts on that?
Wyoming and Colorado State. Let's see. What do we got for the numbers there? Wyoming. Let's see. All right, so Wyoming 4-4, Colorado State 3-5. Where is the over?
While he's looking this one up, James, the other one that I see here is Army Air Force under 45. I love that, man. Anytime you got two option teams going against each other, always look towards that under, because they're just going to run it down each other's throats, run that clock. The only thing that makes me nervous is I do like both of these offenses this year. I love Army's offense. Their quarterback, Christian Anderson, absolute beast. This is a game that I was kind of back and forth with earlier in the week. I'm thinking Army money line is going to be my pick in that game against Air Force. I've been on Army kind of a couple times earlier in the year, and they haven't really let me down. I think I'm probably like 4-1, 5-1 with them on the season. I've watched them play. They get after it. They don't give up. They play the full 4 quarters. Air Force, it's always a rivalry game. You know they're going to come in and want to give it to them. I think the difference maker for me is Anderson for Army. That's why I would sort of lean there. But that under is a little sketchy to me this year. You know, that game, if they have a breakaway run or something, which could easily happen, they've done it to a couple of guys, a couple of teams this year. If you have a couple of those breakaway runs from either side, that game could easily get, above 45. I would just be weary of it. But generally, historically, the numbers, when you have two option teams playing against each other, under is, the side to be on when it comes to numbers wise, just over time.
So it's like 41 points on the over under, and it looks like Colorado State's averaging about 21. The problem is that Wyoming in the last 3 games has scored 21, 3, 0, and 14. So I'd go the under on that game. I feel pretty strong about under 40. That game's probably 21 to 14.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me nervous there is I kind of see it finishing like 27-24. James, his number that he was asking about, it was at 50.
50?
So that's right
Wow.
on the line of where I kind of have that. So it's
I just
nervous,
don't have a lot of confidence in looking at the trends
right?
that Wyoming's going to score over,
Right.
14 points.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they definitely might not.
And then
It's just how much faith do you have in Colorado State and Wyoming scoring and their defense is holding up. For me, I don't know. Is this the Wyoming team that you get that went up in the 40s against UConn and gave up 40 against UConn? I don't know. Or is it the Wyoming that you're talking about, who scored 38 over the last four, averaging less than 10, over the last four games? I don't know. So for me, that's a tough one to call. Between that one and the Army Air Force under, I think I'd have to lean that Army Air Force. Let's see if we got any more out here real quick. Rice versus Charlotte. Any opinion there?
Ooh-wee. Rice versus Charlotte.
Rice is bad, man. Rice is bad.
Yeah, they're horrible. Charlotte's won a couple games.
Yeah, I was on the other side of Charlotte earlier in the year. Duke played them at Charlotte. They ended up beating Duke. Completely
6.5.
blindsided me, but I mean, you've seen what Duke has done the rest of the year, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Is this game in Charlotte, Dave?
Yeah, it's at Charlotte. They're getting 6.5.
Yeah, I like Charlotte in that one. I think Charlotte would be my play there. Maybe like a 21-7 game is kind of how I see that one. Rice is bad. Rice is not good.
Yeah, they're bad. They're 3-5 and only 2-6 against the spread. So
Rice is not good.
And Charlotte's 4-3-1 against the spread. So they're substantially better against the spread. So definitely safer bet is to go with those. And 6.5 is pretty good. You can win by 7, you're good.
Right. We got one more for you here, Dave, and then we'll let you go for the night. San Diego State, Hawaii, the last game of the Week 10 slate, literally.
And they're playing at Hawaii, right?
At Hawaii.
The evil curse.
That's right. The curse of the beautiful islands.
At Hawaii. So it's 7.5 to San Diego State. I mean, I just, it's hard for me to see them getting cursed here. They're 7-1. And
that's a perfect lineup for a curse right there.
Yeah, I know it is. So Hawaii, let's see what Hawaii is. At home, lost to San Jose State, 17-13.
Competed
Lost again. No, they beat Fresno. That was the one we talked about, 27-24.
Yep.
They beat New Mexico State, which sucks.
Yeah, they're not good.
48-34. And they haven't won a game on the road. I just can't do it, man. I can't go with the Hex. I'm gonna go with San Diego State and their 7-1 record and
San Diego State
stability here at the end of the year.
I think that should be the side, and it makes sense, and it's kind of like the obvious thing, and for that reason, that sketches me out. There's no reason that San Diego State should only be favored by that little of amount.
Well, they're favored because it's the islands, baby.
It's that hex, right? It's that hex.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about it. It's just sketchy. It looks like they might think that they're gonna catch them sleeping kind of deal. I don't know. The line sketches me out. That'd probably be one that I stay away from, James. But take that information as you will, for sure. Anything for us here, Dave, before we sign off for the week?
No, I mean, it was we'll see how things pan out. A little tougher week, in my opinion. There, get ripped.
Why don't
you put your plug in, man, before I sign off?
Put my plug in. Just continue to watch us. Give us a subscribe. Give us a like. Give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure to check out our website. We're working on it right now, but it's gonna be pretty sweet when we get it done. I think your lovely wife is gonna help me in Public House get that moving and grooving. So we love that. It's going good. We'll do some more live breaks here shortly. Hopefully, in the next week or two, we might do some giveaways as well. Get it back rolling. Get back into the break game. It's been a while since we've opened some cards, so get back to it. And NFL game, NFL show will be later this week. We're going to try to get that done tomorrow night. And I think we're going to even do potentially a card show with Public House Pulls and Steel City Rips, where they're going to break down, the different cards, how they value, what you look for, what you want to hold, what you want to get rid of. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be pretty sweet. And, that's all I got for you. Shout out to Brazil. We see you in the chat. Appreciate everybody watching. Thanks again, James, for getting in the chat and asking us about some games, man. Love talking football anytime we can, so definitely appreciate that. Public House, see you as well. Steel City, I saw you in there earlier too. Appreciate you, brother. And anything else for us, Dave?
Well, appreciate all the new folks that signed in, that are watching live, that are watching recorded. Keep the support going, like Mike said. Subscribe, so you try to get that little reminder every time we come on, so we don't have to send all this stuff out. But it'd be great if you click that button to remind you when we're on. But we appreciate everybody being on and watching, and we're having a great time, and we had a great time in Jacksonville, and hopefully maybe we can have another live broadcast somewhere soon. There you go. So I appreciate everybody's support, and look forward to next week and Saturday with all the football going on. And like we always say, go Gators.
All right. Go Canes, baby. Go Canes. Till next week,
Dave.
Dave.
Have a great weekend.
All right. Good luck this week.